No, you look perfect. You
Okay.
look perfect. And that's good news that you look perfect because we are live. So, hello, and welcome to Intercultural Spark. I am your host, Deanna Schaas, and I love each week to catch up with micro entrepreneurs. These are business people who are living lives and making change in the world through their mission driven businesses and life projects. And the exciting news is there's like this movement of us, there's millions of us across the country who are going to make the world a better place. One of those people is my guest today. His name is Mark Littlejohn. He is the founder of Littlejohn, New York. And he actually, what's fascinating is he says that he is at the moment that he is in his life right now. Like you can track every single moment up until now, 25 years experience in design, manufacturing, and importing that now brings him to what he does, which is building a whole business with auxiliary products for the cannabis industry. So we're excited to hear about what he's doing, about opportunities in the cannabis industry. And yeah, thank you for everyone watching live. You can ask questions while we're talking or after the fact. We're so glad that you're here. So welcome to Intercultural Spark. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, how are you? It's great to
Uh,
be here. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I'm realizing, and just for our viewers, I just want you to know that if there's any immaturity or like giggling because we're talking about like weed, which I do know from young people, you're supposed to call it weed, not pot now. If there's any immaturity, that is 100% solely on me. Okay. So,
Okay,
be,
absolutely.
yeah, because actually, Mark, I'm excited to talk to you because the world has completely changed from when we were walking around with plastic baggies and pot and weed, everything was illegal. Now it's big business. So what's the context? I want to know about your business specifically, but can you just give us like a teeny bit of context of what the like how many dollars the whole cannabis industry is right now?
Uh, Excellent. The cannabis industry is at the pace it's going right now, which is an
Mhm.
incredible pace. Last year was the most active year we've had in cannabis. It's slated to reach close to $63 billion in by 2028,
Wow.
which is an amazing, huge number.
Mhm. And then the thing is some people think, oh, well, it's weed. All you can do is like grow marijuana and that's what it is, but it's not. There's all kinds of products. What's the scope of products? And then bring us in from like 63 billion to kind of products to your product in 2 seconds or less.
Okay, no
In
pressure here,
one
no pressure.
sentence.
Okay, basically, the cannabis industry is growing at an incredible pace, and basically, it's not just weed anymore. Now there are
Mhm,
tinctures. There's multiple ways of consuming cannabis now. If you don't
mhm,
want to smoke, there are now gummies, there are edibles, chocolate, there are cookies. Um, Along with the weed, it can be vaped, obviously. And so that's expanded the market incredibly. And so what you're seeing as the industry develops is many dispensaries opening up.
mhm.
There's a movement to move from legacy dealers, people who've been selling, to have them move into the legal segment of the biz
Oh, I
industry.
love it. Is that the way of saying someone who was like on the street selling? They're
Yeah,
the
basically
legacy
legacy.
dealers
Yes,
now
legacy. They
bringing them
came up with a
into
great
more.
name
Okay.
for it. And so
I love it.
basically, and when people hear about the industry, they often think, "Oh, I want to start a dispensary. I want
Mhm,
to build this thing." Those are wonderful things, but they're very complicated. There's a lot of regulation. There's a massive amount of cost that's associated with those.
mhm,
So as all that grows, it's like any sort of rush, like a gold rush. They call it the
mhm.
green rush. And so what I do is, rather than digging for the gold, I supply the picks and axes and shovels.
Okay.
That's what the ancillary businesses do. So you can either mine the gold and make your fortune that way, or you can really sell the shovels that everyone's going to be using. And that's where my product and my assortment comes in, and my position within the market.
So I'm showing actually some of your products. So what is so you are a product designer and have designed products for years. You're now designing this beautiful stash bag. Tell us about your product and also where it's sold.
Okay. What I design, and basically, as you said, I was a product designer. I've been a product designer for 25 years, and I've designed everything from tabletop, housewares, giftware, holiday ornaments. And
Wow.
so I took all of that knowledge, including my knowledge of manufacturing and importing, and basically developed this line. My passion is products where form follows function. I
Mm-hmm.
love to have a beautiful thing that actually works and does something. So this was an absolutely natural transition from where I've been to where I am right now. And this is an assortment of leather scent concealing accessories. Each piece is made with either top grain or full grain leather, and
Mm-hmm.
each piece contains what we call our 5-layer scent concealed
And is
technology.
that like a proprietary? Is that patented, your 5 layers?
No, it is not patented. It is not a new technology. What
Okay.
I have done is I've refined it and made all the materials natural. So the activated carbon that absorbs the odor is organic. The non-woven filters that are inside it are organic
Oh, wow.
also.
So everything's organic as well.
Yes, I've made everything organic because the things you're going to put in there, you're going to theoretically put in your mouth, or
Oh,
there's a
good
high
thought.
chance of it.
Oh, where's this one shows the inside as well. And I think when you and I were talking, we were kind of, talking ahead of time. It's the idea that even though marijuana is legal now, do you think there's still like are there still stereotypes or judgments or things like that? Like, it used to be in the olden days, if some complete stranger walked into a meeting totally smelling like pot, like people would be, snickering. So is
Exactly.
that the idea behind this?
Yes, there is still a stigma that's connected with cannabis. Although there's a huge rate of growth within cannabis users
Mhm.
amongst almost all the age groups. You're finding even Gen Z, they're one of the fastest rising groups of people, and we know how they're young, still in their 20s, but all the way up to people who are in their 50s and 60s. As you get older, there's now a need for medical reasons for this. But
And
all that happened.
there's a lot of medical reasons for it, particularly for chronic pain and anxiety and all kinds of things. So now that it's legal, you don't need a prescription then to be able to get in states where it's legal, you don't need a prescription to use it, let's say for chronic pain or anxiety or things
That
like
is correct. There are dispensaries that are medically oriented, and there are those that are
that. Okay.
recreationally. Often you can do both
Hmm.
because if a state goes legal for medical and then they go legal for recreational, the medical dispensaries have the first dibs on who's able to get those licenses.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, back to your point a second ago. Yes, there's still a stigma associated with it.
Hmm.
You don't, and the thing about having more and more people use it is that we're carrying it around. These are professional people now,
Hmm.
and we're really trying to work to change the stigma of everyone who smokes pot being a pothead or being an unproductive person. Um,
Hmm.
and there are so many. I've met hundreds of incredible, amazing professionals that enjoy the plant.
Hmm.
So for that reason, there is a necessity to have a way of carrying and storing your cannabis so that it's discreet. So
Hmm.
that if you walk into an elevator with it on your person, everyone in the elevator is not smelling you. If you're
Sure.
in your office, people aren't smelling you.
Hmm.
Um, and so for that reason, that's how
Hmm.
the foundation of my business started.
So what's fantastic about this, I always tell people when I'm talking to micro entrepreneurs or people going in business, it is you need like where's there a void in the market? You need a problem that needs to be solved and then a product or a service to solve it. And I want to transition. Brianna's question is good for this and also for you, which is that just because it's related to, let's say, something that's for recreational use, like running a business is still running a business. And I know you not only have you a really solid business plan for your own business, you coach other people on business plans, which I want
I
to
do.
get back to that because Brianna's talking about how do you find an opening in the market and then how do you differentiate your product from others? Are there other products like yours in the market? But how
Yeah,
well, you just kind of said you found an opening by saying like there's a need for this. So you just
absolutely.
created it. Like you didn't wait for permission. You know what I
No,
mean,
I did not
right?
wait
You
for
don't wait
permission.
for someone to go,
I,
"Oh, we need this."
I
Um,
yes, I
no.
usually ask for forgiveness, not permission, when it comes to things like that. But to answer Brianna's question,
Yeah.
what I find and what I coach people in is if you'd like to get into the market, I think the first thing to do is to kind of look inward and decide what your passions,
Mhm.
talents, and the
Sure.
things you love are. And then I almost promise you, there is somewhere in the cannabis industry that you could apply that.
Mhm.
And I mean, everyone from mechanics, air conditioning people, doctors, therapists. I mean, you name it. I'm a designer, I'm in the industry.
Mhm.
There's a way to get into this industry. So I think that's the first thing. Decide what you love and want to do.
Mhm.
Then I would start researching the industry and finding where that place or how that fits
Mhm.
into the industry. Is
Because
that
it
part
varies
of it?
by state still as well, correct?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
It varies the industry. Is there anything are there national trends, or do you really need to focus in on your state because the laws are different state by state?
I think that you should just start focusing globally on the whole
Okay.
industry. See where there are gaps. See where there's
Mhm.
a space. Figure out what you love to do. Then explore that space that within the cannabis space.
Mhm.
You like, for instance, for me, there are other people doing what I do,
Mhm.
and which means I actually needed a proof of concept anyway. If nobody was doing it, I'd be like, why is no one doing it? But there are people doing it.
Okay. So proof of
And
concept in that if it doesn't exist, like maybe, yeah, we've done that before. Sometimes if something doesn't exist, you might think, yay, I'm the first. But usually it's like, I'm actually not the first, and other people tried it and there was a reason that it didn't work.
it's
That makes
important
sense.
it's important to try to do that go through that exercise.
Mhm.
um and so what I did is I found a niche that had yet another niche that was not being addressed. There are other stash bags. None of them have an elegant, upscale, mature look. Almost
Mm.
all of them are
Okay.
canvas or nylon. Many of them have, like a big pot leaf on them
Oh,
or
sure.
camouflage patterns. The other
Mhm.
ones very much look like camping gear, which
Mm.
is fine. But what I'm offering is the first time that someone's offering a product for storage and transporting that feels more like a higher end brand, a luxury
Sure.
brand. When I first started this, if it was sort of the Coach of stash bags, if you will.
Yeah, sure. No, they're
And
beautiful.
there's still to this day, there's still no one addressing it in
Mhm.
this way.
Well, and you have, as I recall, on the inside, so it's the outside is beautiful, but the inside has like little clips and hooks and things so that you can keep everything organized as well.
Absolutely. They all come with elastics to hold your products in place. The large piece you showed, the partitions can be repositioned so you can adjust it and customize it. That right there
Oh,
is
nice.
our 5-layer scent concealed
Okay.
technology.
That customization, actually, when we talk about just even markets, I know millennials and people afterwards expect things to be customized to themselves. So the ability to
Mhm.
do that actually also just addresses the market as well. Mhm,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
mhm.
And we offer
So
personalization and monogramming too.
oh, you do?
Yes, we
All
do.
right.
Absolutely.
Oh, so it really is. So where are you selling this? So how now just looking at your business model, so you've done like you were talking about your proof of concept, you've got your business plan, you are now on the market, you're online. What's your business model in terms of distribution and
Just
manufacturing? You've got to set up all that.
yes, I did set all that up. Well, let's start with manufacturing. I have a factory overseas in
Okay.
southern China, and I work directly with them. I have 2 people there that I work with, a production person, and basically the manager. And we communicate, and I go through my usual development process where I come up with an idea, draw it, send it to them, get samples
Mhm.
back.
How did you vet them? Now I'm just fascinated also then when you talk about international business, because you do not speak Chinese, correct?
No, I
You
do
guys
not
work.
speak Cantonese or Mandarin.
Okay.
A tiny bit, because over
Okay.
the years I've gone there many times. I vetted them. I did my research, and I found a company that was a reference from another person I knew
Okay.
who connected me with them. The fact that I was able to manage them is,
Mhm.
again, that was my
Mhm.
secret sauce, if you will.
That process, though, also, Mark, is a really big one for micro entrepreneurs. That so much of what we do is by personal connection. That a
Right.
lot of what we do, sometimes even with clients, but also in terms of who you want to use, we're checking. We have big networks. I'm
Hmm.
saying we, assuming this is true for you as well. You have big networks, and when you need something, that's the first place I always go is to my network. Who in my network
Absolutely.
knows something? You do, yeah.
Absolutely. That's
Hmm.
very true. And to go back to the beginning of the question,
Sure.
we have a website. I also have an Etsy store.
Ah,
We
okay.
sell wholesale. We also have,
What's the Etsy store? Is it just Little John New York on Etsy?
yes, yes.
Okay.
And we also have 5 overseas affiliates
Oh,
who sell
wow.
for us too. We can be found in terms of retail. We're way down in Texas at Mary J. Smoke Culture. We're up in New Hampshire. I'm sorry, Vermont, in Vermont Patients Alliance. Out on Long Island in Open Minded Organics. Bespoke Post. We're in
Mhm,
about 7 retail spaces
mhm.
right now.
And this is basically you as you have made these relationships to be able to sell the products in these different locations. How big is the market? Sorry, each one of my questions are like 5 parts each because everything you're saying is so fascinating.
Thank you.
Looking at like I hadn't even thought about like the US market versus the global market.
Right.
So the global, so it sounds like is the global market, are they around the same time frame as the US as far as legalization and things, or where are they?
I think that the global market, in some cases, a little bit behind the United States.
Okay.
There is a global market. Don't be fooled. There's a global
Okay.
market. It is moving along very quickly, but I do believe America is a little bit ahead of it in terms of, if you can imagine, the countries are the size of our states. So if you can imagine, our states
Mhm.
are going legal much faster than the full countries in Europe.
Sure.
But there is a market there. We actually are in a digital retail space called Aquarone, and they're based out of Paris.
Okay.
So if you are in Europe, you can find our products there. Interestingly enough, sometimes we sell to people right around the corner. I've actually walked to people's houses and dropped off their orders, and we've sold as far away as Kuwait, Israel, and Jordan.
Oh, wow. Mhm.
It's,
Did you have any issues now with the pandemic and shipping and China and things like that? Did that impact, has the events around the world impacted your ability to get your product?
Luckily for me, no, it did not, because my products are not that large, and unfortunately, I'm not
Oh, so
shipping
you don't need like a
containers.
huge
I'm not shipping
container.
containers of product.
Okay.
You know, thousands
Sure.
of dollars of my product still fits in a small space on the back of a little truck.
Okay.
So I still air freight everything in.
Okay.
The effect the pandemic had on me was more of my retail outlets. For
Because people are
instance,
probably stressed and are actually using products more.
well, ultimately, that's what did happen. Yes, people did
Okay.
actually, once things settled down, basically dispensaries all closed for walk-in services. And
Mhm.
my products are an ancillary product. So after you bought your weed or whatever it is from the dispensary, you then would walk around and look for other cool things to buy.
Mhm.
Because nobody was going into dispensaries at that point, it was all curbside and delivery. Nobody was inside browsing my products.
Mhm.
So we
Sure.
shifted everything to being online and more digital. We strengthened our marketing practices that we had, invested more money. I hired a PR person, and we
Mhm.
basically were able to rebalance that out. And to your point, yes, more people were staying home and smoking now. So
Mhm.
it actually ended up, once that shift happened, it ended up being a pretty solid year once we
That's
got
great.
through that first
Mhm.
part of it and pivoted.
Mhm. Well, and I just saw, I can't remember if this event just happened or it's coming in the future, but it's some big event that that you either spoke at or are speaking at. And I noticed that one of the sponsors was like the Baptist church. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, that was a couple weeks ago. It was
Okay.
part of the Women Grow.
Okay.
Yes, it was Women Grow Tri-State Cannabis conference.
Okay.
And I was
So in
interviewed
that
by.
one name right there, you've got a lot of things that are just putting this front and center in connected to everything going on. First of all, like women's movement. So women grow. It must be women that are
Absolutely.
associated with cannabis.
Great
But
organization.
also, how was a again, I told you I would be the purveyor of all things immature. I would think like the church and cannabis would be separated from each other. So what was that marriage? Were they a sponsor of this event?
They're sponsored mainly in that they are supporting. One of the things and there again, there is still a stigma. And
Hmm.
in terms of trying to break that down, there's really a push to get people to understand the real positive aspects of cannabis.
Hmm.
It could literally cut the opioid industry down if it
Hmm.
were allowed to. And because of that, surprising people are beginning to at least be kind of curious,
Oh,
and
interesting.
they're making an effort to understand
Okay.
this. I always
What would
kind
you
of
say are the three benefits? So cutting the opioid industry. What are maybe two others of those that are getting, let's say, disparate or people that you might not have originally thought of associated with cannabis? What are a couple other things drawing them in?
I think one of the biggest things really is medically.
Mhm,
I always kind of imagine if you could get your grandmother to start using a CBD-based oil or a cannabis-based oil for pain on her knees rather than
mhm.
taking another opioid.
For
Um,
sure. Sure.
and that's the big part. And I think that's one of the pushes that's happening in terms of churches and other places like that.
Mhm.
The devastation of the opioid epidemic has been unbelievable across the board for so many people. Cannabis is really an alternative to that people, it would be, it'd be a better world if more people used cannabis-based products. Also, we need people to understand that you don't just have to use it to get high. There are cannabinoids within the cannabis plant. Our body contains cannabinoids.
Mhm.
And so they refine cannabis so much that we're able to actually pull specific ones out. So for instance, there may be a cannabinoid that helps with blood circulation. There's a cannabinoid that you already have in your body for your respiratory
Mhm.
system or your
Now is
digestion.
that CBD or is that still
Well, both
cannabis?
CBD and cannabis have
Okay.
these cannabinoids in them. And so that being said, that's part of the movement to destigmatize cannabis. So people really understand it's not just a thing that kids use out behind the shed, or in their
Mhm.
vans. It's really a thing that it's really a product, and the products associated with it are really things that can help us as a society and as a culture, better living through plant medicine,
Mhm.
more than synthetic
Oh,
medicine.
that's interesting because it's all natural, which it sounds like that permeates everything you do with your product. The cannabis
Exactly.
is all natural. The
Exactly.
products are all
Exactly.
natural. Oh, interesting. So that ties into really fascinating because that also then the whole environmental and organic, all natural movement. I mean, it really seems to be at the forefront of a lot of those different movements that are happening where then the cannabis industry is part of that or aligned with it.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm,
One of the biggest issues, sort of the packaging regulation. There's a lot of packaging around with cannabis, especially with legal cannabis.
mhm.
That aside, the plants themselves are truly refined, and there's such regulation to make sure of that you're guaranteed, you're very well guaranteed to have a pure product without pesticides,
Oh,
without
interesting.
chemical
Mhm,
additives. It's really, that is the movement.
mhm.
And
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, actually, hearing all of this and hearing you that you had a great year, that, just the whole business planning, which no matter what you're doing, like, that what's next for you? What's next for
it's
you in terms of where do you see the next level of growth?
very good question. I
Mhm.
think the next level of growth is for me personally or for the industry?
For you, no, for you and your
Me
business.
personally, I think that I'm going to continue. I'd like to continue expanding what I'm already working on.
Mhm,
For instance, I'd like to start having a more sophisticated product assortment, meaning that I can have different products in one place than I have in another. So for instance, perhaps I might come out with a vegan leather line, vegan leather, so
Oh,
that
I wondered that
we're
only because
approaching
my whole
someone
family is
who doesn't
animal
want
rights
real
activists.
leather,
Yeah, sure.
That
For
would
sure.
all then it start attracting younger people, Gen Z and younger millennials are very concerned about the environment. And everyone's concerned about natural things. So doing things like that, also being able to develop products that have different price points so that they can be distributed in different places. So I don't want the business to get so big with the same products that it cannibalizes itself. So expansion, different assortment of products, and then exploring new markets. As each state in the United States becomes legal, new markets open up there. And as Europe develops, there'll be new markets over there to explore. And we have yet to fully explore the European markets that exist so far.
I am continually impressed, and this is only because I know it's something that any business owner struggles with or looks at, which is this whole idea of if you want to grow your business, do you get more products? Do you find new customers? And so it's just again and again, everything that you're saying, this is your product. This is the thing you like. It brings together everything you've done in your personal interest, but like that, it all just goes through like everything you need to do for like basic business things.
Absolutely.
So, and there's no shortcuts. That's the thing too. There's no shortcuts just because it's like, ooh, cannabis, everyone's doing it. It's not like you just go, okay, now I'm just going to be famous in the cannabis industry. It takes the planning and the business building.
It is
so impressive.
Yes. This doing what I'm doing, even in the cannabis sector, still encompasses every part of starting a business that everyone and anyone would go through. I will admit, being in the cannabis industry is a lot more fun than when I was designing dishes and plates. A lot more fun. I think that, also the other thing that I find amazing about this industry is that because it's so new and it is not a hugely mature industry, there's a sense of community here that I find.
Oh, that's great.
I also feel people are really willing to help. I think people are busy and can only do what they can do, but I think people really want to help. People really want to see you come along and grow and they want to see themselves and doing it together. There's really a sense of that. I've met some amazing, wonderful people in this industry.
That's wonderful.
All great, positive, sharing perspectives about business and the industry as a whole.
So, my friend Mark, we are right on the spot now to do I know you dressed for this specifically, our flash exercise.
Flash exercise.
Yes. So Mark is also an avid exerciser. You also work out regularly.
Yes, I do. It's what keeps me sane, balanced, and ultimately healthy.
I am with you on that. So I also, not only do I exercise, I am a certified fitness instructor.
Absolutely.
So I always like to do the interpretive exercise of the week, which is I do an exercise. I invite you to do it with me. And I picked it specifically for this show. And so I'm going to let you guess why I picked it for this show. So I'm going to make myself full screen for just a second. And then I'll bring you back on to do this with me. All right. So I'm going to make myself full screen for a second. Okay, so this exercise, we have to stand for this. You can do it. Actually, you can do it. I'll just do it seated first, but the squat is a really good part of it, which is standing. So if you're seated, you're actually it'll be a core exercise. Bring your rib cage and your pelvis together. Bring your hands here, down, and then up. So it's down, up, and then you can switch. So that's how you do it if you're seated. But I'm going to recommend, it's a really good glute exercise, whereas I feel like I wore my green for St. Patrick's Day, but I'm moving it out of the way. All right. So as a standing thing, you come to a squat and bring your hands here. That squat is you bring your tail to knee height. So you drop your tail to knee height. Make sure your knees are over your ankles, not too far forward, hands here, and lift. So it's a squat and then a lift and a cross. Okay, let me bring you back on so we can do this together.
Okay, I'm standing now.
Yeah, okay, ready? So we come squat to here.
Some squatting.
And then come up and cross your arms. Okay, do it again. Squat and cross. Okay, do you know why I picked this exercise for you?
Because I sit all the time.
And that you should be standing. No, I was looking at how the industry has evolved. So in that squat where your hands are here, it's like,
That's
you're
very
a serious business person of like, no, this is a serious industry. So that's your,
right.
no, we are making business.
Excellent.
You like that? So that was my aerobics, my interpretive aerobics interpretation of the evolution of the cannabis.
I get it.
Mark, thank you so much. I know that there's so much more that we can talk about. And I'm excited to see where you're going. And actually, I'm going to call you afterwards and get all your tips and helps with business plans.
Absolutely. Please reach out.
Really, and it pays off. I mean, you can't skip the corners of like really planning and approaching things methodically as a business. I mean, that's how you do it. So
it is a business, and there's dollars and cents, and there is a lot at stake. But it's a passion. Passion, and it's an industry that has so much potential for almost anyone who would like to get into it. We didn't even have a chance to talk about the whole equity part of the industry. That's where there's a lot of focus on that also.
It really sounds fabulous. We will have to have you back to
please have me back. I'd like to come back.
Yes. So at Littlejohn, New York, right there on Instagram, please connect with Mark. All your questions, both about how to find his fantastic products, but also it sounds like you just have such great knowledge about the industry. So thank you so much, Mark. It was fun to catch up with you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks
we'll see
for
you
having me. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And I'll see you soon.
Yeah.